Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news and takeover news update show. Today's video, the Glazers are upset with Qatar. They're offended by some of the stuff that's come out about Qatar and Qatar's statement because they believe Qatar is being offensive. Because the Qatar are basically saying they want to bring United back to their best, they want to make United successful again, and the Glazers, they see that as a dig. We're going to get into that. They've been telling Qatar to stop saying this and stop saying that. Because the Qatar are right. They want to bring United back to their best. And the Glazers don't like the Qatar saying that publicly because it brings down the Glazers' image. We will get into the deets on that because it's they're not happy in what they've told Qatar to do. There's also a news report that came out today from Italy that Manchester United are reportedly one of the favourites to get Dusan Vlahovic, if not the favourite. And they actually did held some talks in January and they could have potentially got the deal over the line in January had they had the funds. Obviously, that was more of a pinch of salt sauce. It's not like from a top source, but I want to get into that. McTominay's been put up for sale for 25 million. Rashford's new contract. United are working hard to get Rashford to sign his new contract. There is a bit of a fear that Rashford could potentially leave and seek a move abroad, but I'm not particularly worried about that because Garnacho has just signed a new contract, and we've got lots and lots to talk about in today's show. We've got the Barcelona game coming up Thursday night, people. Oh, honestly, it can't come quick enough. Absolutely excited for the Barcelona game. Then, of course, at the weekend, the final. I'm sorry, but before I get into the news, because I've also got like 5 other stories to talk about, like, ins, outs, Ten Hag's plans, some stuff on what went down in the dressing room, some dressing room problems, all of that. Like, can we just actually sit here and go, this week is Barcelona at Old Trafford and a cup final. Man United are in a cup final, which they're the favourites to win now because Newcastle haven't been quite at it yet, and they're playing Barcelona. What a freaking week. What a freaking week. Imagine beating Barcelona and winning the cup in a week. Where we were last year, leaks. There were leaks coming out this time last year. Fallouts. Rashford was like the polar opposite of Rashford now. And now we've arguably got the most informed player in the world post-World Cup in Marcus Rashford in our squad. The best left-back in the world right now, who can also play centre-back, as Luke Shaw in our squad. The best DM in the world in our squad. We've got crazy Alessandro Martinez, the butcher. Sancho's coming back and picking up form. Ten Hag's doing magic. We could be getting Qatari owners. We've got Barcelona, where I think we'll beat them because we put in a solid performance at the Nou Camp. They don't have Pedri and Gavi. And then we've got a cup final. And we're only 3 points behind Manchester City. And we're only 5 points off first place. And we're in top 4 by 8 points comfortably. Like, it's a good week to be a United fan. It's a really, really good week to be a United fan as well. I just wanted to put Carl's comment here saying, I will say it again, the highest bid wins, the greedy scumbags only take 6 billion or more. I want to get into some news, and I will touch upon this in about 5-10 minutes, but there's a report about the Elliott Group buying United. I want to get into the takeover, what's going on. Is it going to be a partial sale? Is it going to be a full sale and all of that? But I do kind of want to dive into the Glazers kind of being annoyed at Qatar and that in about 5 minutes. But I just want to quickly touch upon, the Carabao Cup final, the trophy drought needs to end. Massive. Yeah, of course, Glazers out. Glazers better sell. I really dislike the Glazers. Glazers are just playing it tough to the media to get the highest final bids. Exactly. So let's touch upon the news because I feel like you want to hear the news and we can discuss that, and then we'll discuss Barcelona. I was about to say Brentford. It would have been Brentford, but Newcastle. So I think, before I get into anything, I think the Glazers are playing hardball. I think the Glazers will sell the club. I think that it will be sold to Qatar. And I think that the Glazers are using the media to try and get the best deal they can. I think the Glazers are using that this Elliott Group's going to come in and give them the money they want to stay, to maybe pressure Qatar into bidding a bit more. Qatar's bid was 5 billion. The Glazers on 6 billion. Qatar bid 5 billion because they're like, well, we're going to have to pay another 500 million in debt. And we're going to have to redo the stadium. So realistically, we're going to be spending 7-8 billion. But, the Glazers don't think like that. I think the Glazers want to see how much money they can get. And I think they will use the media to say stories that they're not going to sell. They'll use the media about stuff with a partial take because I think that they're milking it. And the reason I think Qatar will still get the club, but despite the Elliott hedge funds news, is because from what we're hearing from reliable Qatari sources, I'm talking very reliable Qatari sources, that Qatar and Man United fans, they're not fucking about, they're serious, they want United, they will get United. You know, Qatar have the money that no one can compete with. If they want United, they'll get United. That seems to be the belief in the Qatari attitude, that they're serious about United. And I do think that despite reports about the Elliott Group, which we will cover, I have a feeling that, you know, Qatar will be the next owners as well. Also, yeah, can we actually get this up? What do I need to do? So I want to show you something actually I was just laughing about regarding Liverpool. This is a really good week because reportedly Liverpool is no longer for sale. And if I get this up here, I think I'll put it on Twitter. Here we go. No, tweets and replies. I think I did it here. Breaking. I thought that this is, I tell you what, this is breaking news coming in. The FSG announced they will not be selling Liverpool. So Man United, so do you know what? I know I'm getting a bit sidetracked here. FSG announced they will not be selling Liverpool. So you're telling me Liverpool go up for sale, Liverpool fans are bragging, telling me they're going to get Qatari owners, then all of a sudden United are going to get Qatari owners and Liverpool aren't for sale anymore. Now, the reason I don't want to laugh at this too much is in case the Glazers go ahead and do the same, because you just never know with the Glazers. This Qatar news is too good to be true. The Glazers could well and truly do the same. But the Glazers have got to go unless they get a minority stake. And I swear to God, if that Elliott Group is stupid enough to give the Glazers the money they want to stay, then I'm going to have a big problem and a big bone to pick with the Elliott Group. But I have to say, news coming in that the Liverpool takeover is off. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of that. But anyway, I want to talk about the Glazers and the Qatar. Why have the Glazers and Qatar fallen out? Why are the Glazers not happy with Qatar? Because this will make you laugh, people. Because the Glazers really are absolute see you next Tuesdays. Really are absolute see you next Tuesdays as well. People talk about stop manipulation as well. If the Glazers don't sell, it would be like stop manipulation. Technically, but not totally. But yeah. And I've done the math, and even with the funds, they won't be able to run the club apart from putting themselves in more debt. I mean, the Glazers physically have to go. Unless someone's stupid enough to back them, they physically have to go. And it will be a good week, 2 wins, and the Glazers sell. You know what? In the space of the next few weeks, it could be beating Barcelona, winning a cup final, and getting new rich owners in the space of a couple of weeks. This could be some of the best. You know, United had, trebles and Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues, but this... so it's not going to obviously be better than that. But this could be one of the best weeks in United history in the sense of a Barcelona win, the Glazers gone, and a cup final win. This could generally be one of the best weeks coming up in United history. So remember that now. If the Glazers do decide to stay, we start a process. I'll tell you this now. If there is a chance the Glazers could stay, they have been offered a big minority stake, which could tempt them into staying. If the Glazers stay, I think it would be too much damage. I think right now, if they decide to stay, if they decide to take a minority stake, the stock price is just going to completely crash again. I think that they're going to be hit bad. I think fans are going to protest. They're going to lose money, and I think they would massively regret it. If they put themselves up for sale and we had no offers and none of this had come out about Qatar and then they sold a partial stake, fine. But because this has come out about Qatar, because this has come out about Jim Ratcliffe, because we know they're getting decent offers of 5 billion, which, is doable. I think 6 billion, is taking a mick, but 5 billion, that's close to 6 billion. Because we know they're getting offers and stuff, if they didn't sell and they then did a partial stake because they were greedy, I think there would be fan outrage. I think it would cost the Glazers, and I think the valuation of United would go down. And I actually think they would be in big, big trouble if they didn't sell at this rate, because I think the fan outrage could massively cost them. And I do think they're in a position now where they care what the fans think. And it was said, bidders and not saying they care what the fan thinks in the sense of they care what we want, they just care to the extent of if their image is too bad, the value of the club goes down, which is exactly why they're getting angry with Qatar. Because it was said by the Times, bidders for Manchester United have been told to stop running public campaigns which could damage the Glazers' family following the official start of the race to take control of the club. Now, why have the Glazers done this? Because reportedly the Glazers are soft little wet wipes that get offended at anyone that takes a dig at them, because they just don't know how to handle criticism, essentially, because they've been shit and they can't handle it. And it was said just in a statement from Qatar's bid in particular, it's understood to have caused consternation among those running the process, with the promise to return United its former glories seen as implied criticism from owners. The Glazers are offended. The Glazers are upset with Qatar because they said their goal was to return United to its former glories. So the Glazers themselves are being little old sensitive twats and are getting upset with Qatar over this. I think it's mad. I think it's mad. It was said that this has prompted the Rain Bank to firmly remind bidders that the process is meant to be private, having been required to sign comprehensive non-disclosure agreements as part of the process. Because Qatar are coming out saying they're going to do this, this, and this to United and getting the fans excited, the Glazers are annoyed. You know, the Qatar's come out and got all the fans super excited about what they want to do with United, want to return to its former glories. The Glazers are getting annoyed because the Glazers know now that Qatar have made it so public they want United and have been so public with their plans to return United to its former glory. If they did turn around and accept this partial stake from the Elliott funds, it's going to hurt them. You know, if we never knew about Qatar or Qatar's interest and they accept a partial stake, they could pull off we didn't get many offers. But now we know that Qatar have gone public with a $5 billion offer and are promising this, this, and this to United fans. There will be outrage and there will be heartbreak if Qatar don't get the club, which could cost the Glazers a lot if they do decide to stay, which I think is another factor behind the Glazers having some anger towards this as well. I can't see them staying in any capacity. Our two most serious bidders are not keeping them on. Exactly. I don't think the Glazers will stay. I think that, you know, Qatar and Jim Ratcliffe, two serious bidders, they really want the club. Qatar could easily bid the $6 billion they want, and I say adios. I think if they stay, they would regret it because I think they don't think they're going to get much more money for United. I think this is the best time to sell. And the sad thing about the Glazers is they want the money. And the thing that annoys me is it's like, is the $5 billion not enough? Qatar offering you $5 billion, you're fucking around because you want $6 billion. I'm sorry, what are you going to do with $6 billion? No one needs $6 billion. I mean, how greedy are you? You've already taken 30 million out of the club. You've already taken loads of money out of the club. You know what? If I won the lottery, you know, and I had 10 million pounds because I won the lottery, and I could go and win 100 million pounds, I wouldn't care that much because I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to spend more than 10 million in my whole life. You know, the 100 million, you know, that is probably better off for someone else. You know, realistically, am I going to ever need that money to live a happy life? No. So why can't you say no to 6 billion and just accept the 5 billion? I sometimes think that as well. I think they're crazy as well. And Glazers want more than United's worth. Exactly. The Glazers want more than United's worth so they can go and brag to their American friends of, we are the highest selling club in sports history. That was the shittest American accent. That didn't even sound American, but you know what I mean. Adam said the opening bid's only 5 billion. Yes, there'll be another 2-3 rounds of bidding where this could be raised and they could potentially match the 6 billion price tag. We'll wait and see what happens with that as well. Are we going to get Dusan in the summer? Well, reportedly, and this is obviously pinch of salt reports, and it's not from top tier sources. It's sort of coming out in Italy that United, you know, were quite close to getting Dusan Vlahovic in January, but they didn't have the finances. They'll probably go for him in the summer, and it is likely that that could happen. I do think with new owners, we potentially might focus on Victor Osimhen, but we know Man United will sign a striker in the summer, and we know it could be Kane, Sesko, Vlahovic, or Osimhen. And the reports are that we have had, you know, discussions with Vlahovic. There was something potentially going on in January, and some Italian sources saying that this deal was quite close in January. I'm not sure if I believe that. I don't think the deal would have ever been close because I don't think the Glazers would have ever played the money for Dusan Vlahovic. But there's definitely something there. And I always say with Vlahovic, I would like him at United, and we will touch upon that in a second. Let me just grab a quick swig of water. Guys, please do smash that like button, and of course subscribe down below if you're new. Got a few stories to get into. Andrea says Qatar has a lot of money, but I won't help if the Glazers find out that someone else could give them the money they want to stay. And that's the problem. We're going to get into the news on the Elliott Group in just a second as well. And the Glazers can sell their own shares instead of being ripped by the Elliott Group. Yeah, we will talk about that in a sec, because reportedly the Glazers want more money as well. But I'm not 100% sure what's going on with Liverpool, but reportedly their owners are staying. But as Alex B says, Glazers can't stay. The funds have dried up, staggering debts of annual profits that would basically take decades to clear up. And the Glazers would want to stay, but they'd have to have a lot of investment to do that. And I don't think someone's stupid enough to invest in them. I hope the Elliott Group isn't stupid enough to just pay all the Glazers' debt. I mean, why would they do that for as well? It would be mad. So hopefully the Glazers don't stay as well. But honestly, F the Glazers. Smash the like button if you hate the Glazers. And Glazers have no morals. As long as the right offer comes, they will sell regardless of the media antics. Exactly. All the Glazers want is a payday. The Glazers don't care who the next owner of United would be. If Jeffrey Epstein was still alive and wanted to be the next owner of Manchester United and he offered the Glazers $6 billion, the Glazers would give Manchester United to Jeffrey Epstein. If Osama bin Laden was still alive and offered the Glazers $10 billion for United, the Glazers would give United to Osama bin Laden. The Glazers generally do not care who the next owners of United are. It is about who gives them the most money. It's about what's best for them financially. They do not care what the fans want. They do not care if, you know, someone like Jeffrey Epstein, who's a freaking nonce, wants to buy United, I don't think they would care. I think they would be like, well, he's going to give me the most money. It's their problem now. Bomb. Bish, bash, bosh. Not bomb. So yeah, Glazers stay, then this will spark even more protests. 100%, 100% as well. And these are opening bids. Yeah, they're only opening bids. So far, we've had a 4.5 billion bid from Ratcliffe, and we've had a £5 billion bid from Qatar. Now, in my opinion, I want Qatar. I think Qatar would be the best owners of United. I think they care about the club. I think they're smart businessmen. And, you know, from their statement, they want to bring Manchester United back to the top. There's a bit of a divide in our fan base of who would rather have Qatar, who would rather have Jim Ratcliffe. Everyone is right to have their own opinion. I've always said I don't 100% know what Qatar and Jim Ratcliffe's intentions are, but the reason I side with Qatar is Qatar would invest heavily in the squad. They're smart businessmen. And, you know, Jim Ratcliffe would have to borrow money to buy United. And I think that Qatar have the funds to compete with the very top. And we just see that, like, in general, Arab Middle Eastern owners have been very, very, very good. But, you know, I think, you know, people saying Qatar, could they come in March? Well, the feeling is that despite reports of the Elliott Group, despite the Glazers being absolute see you next Tuesdays, there is still a lot of reliable sources in the Qatari space saying, you know what, like, watch out for Qatar. I'll try and find it, actually. I'll try and find it if I can. It was said by, you know, good sources in Qatar that we will complete the total acquisition of Manchester United soon. And these are very good sources in Qatar believing that they will complete the Man United job soon. Kelly says, I remember the feeling of impending doom as Glazers closed in on Man United sale. Don't forget the United deal is a good bit of business for them. I don't think they'll be annoyed at all. I think it's their time to go. I do think the Glazers will sell up. They could absolutely fuck us over and do a minority stake. It almost feels too good to be true at United at the moment. Ten Hag, do you know what? This Qatar and this new owner stuff, it does sound too good to be true in the sense of, like, Ten Hag's doing so well. We're in a cup final. We've got Barcelona. We're playing well. We look brilliant on the pitch. All we need is that investment off the pitch, and United are back. And then all of a sudden, the Glazers are selling. And all of a sudden, Qatar want United, and Qatar look at Ten Hag, and they've got these big plans for Ten Hag, and they're going to invest money in it. And it's so we're being told that Qatar's closed and Qatar will be the next owners of United. And with what Ten Hag's doing and new owners coming in and the way we're playing 5 points off top, it feels incredible to be a United fan. It feels this real sense of excitement. And it's almost like at United, whenever we get excited, they remind us, the Glazers, that pain's still yet to come. We sign Ronaldo, goes tits up. You know, we think we're going to come, we think we're going to do this, we think we're going to do that. It goes tits up. It's almost like I'm waiting for this is so good, but this won't happen. It's like, it almost feels too good to be true in that sense. However, I just think that they can't afford to stay. I think that the outrage would be too much. And I do think the belief is that Qatar will make sure they don't lose United. I think Qatar have the money. I think Qatar are desperate for United. The United fans, they call out for United. I don't think Qatar will lose to United, but there's always that fear that it is too good to be true as well. And Bruno, Bellingham, Casemiro, I mean, that would be a class midfield free. I'm still Frankie de Jong, and people will laugh. I'm still all for Frankie de Jong as well. And surely someone with half a brain has to be advising the Glazers if they stay, revenue and the value of the club will stagnate. I think there is someone out there doing that. And the reason I think there's someone out there doing that is because the Rain Group said the goal of the sale is a full sale. The Rain Group said they want the full sale. That's what the Glazers want. Thank you very much for the super chat. You lot are not in a title race. Stay third. Come on, you Gunners. I mean, look, we're not in a title race, but we are 5 points off top. However, Arsenal have a game in hand. I think us being in a title race very much depends on Arsenal dropping points, to be fair as well. But fuck the Glazers. Smash the like button if you don't like the Glazers, honestly. I've just got a super chat I want to scroll down to. So big up Tony for the super chat. If they stay, the club value will take a massive hit and they'll never get those numbers up again. And I agree with Tony. Thank you very much for the super chat. I just think, you know, the excitement is so high. The stocks have gone up. The club value's gone up. We're in a period where there was a lot of money that was given for Chelsea. It's a high-end period for football clubs and buying football clubs. I think, you know, this is one of the most they're ever going to get for United. And I don't know if they didn't. I know part of them wants to hang on a bit longer because Ten Hag's doing well and the value could go up. But they know that if they turn down Qatar and want the full and keep the club Glazers, it's just going to shot back down. The reason the value's up is because of Qatari interest as well. Bring De Jong or Barella instead. I tell you what, Barella's a good player as well. And regardless, Ten Hag has to be the main priority in all of this. He's basically been the manager and director of football for himself. And look at the improvement. Exactly. You know what? The new owners, whatever their plan is, Ten Hag's got to be at the centre of it as well. And as Sam said, this is business suicide if they don't sell. No one will give them below $1 billion. It is business suicide, and things are getting better for Man U, and Qatar will buy United. The belief in the world is that Qatar will buy United as well. There's also Man United have put their season ticket prices up, by the way. We've got a few interesting stories coming out regarding United season ticket prices going up and more. And I have to say, it's just because of the cost of living prices. Everything's going up in price as well. We will talk transfer news. We will talk about that. I have to say, not that I think this is going to happen, Abdullah, but Mbappe, Osimhen, Rashford, man. Imagine the fuck me. That would be crazy. I mean, Rashford and Osimhen would be crazy. I'm telling you this now. My dream, Jadon Sancho on the right, Marcus Rashford on the left, Victor Osimhen in the middle, and Bruno Fernandes as 10, with Casemiro and Frankie de Jong behind. And I generally believe if you got Ten Hag, Osimhen, De Jong, and maybe a ball-playing goalkeeper that distributes better because it more suits Ten Hag's style of play, United could win the league next season. I really do. I think Ten Hag could do something crazy next season as well. And hedge fund out, yeah. I mean, look, if the hedge fund do give the Glazers the money to stay, I think it's stupid from them. I think it doesn't make sense from them, but I think it's horrible for United. And I still think the reason I'm not super worried about this hedge fund as of yet, I could have a lot of reasons to be worried in the future, but the reason I personally don't feel overly super worried about this is the pure fact that I know how much Qatar loved United, how they're United fans, how big footballing people they are, how determined they are to get United. I think with what we're hearing from Qatar, their determination and how much they want United, and reliable sources saying, look, Qatar will get United, it kind of says to me and kind of makes me think, you know what? Qatar don't want to let United go. This is their only chance they can get him. They've kind of lost Liverpool now. I would be very much like they want United. This is their chance. They want the Premier League. Qatar are desperate for the Premier League. I think Qatar will go above and beyond to almost try and make sure that happens. That's why I'm not worried. I think that Qatar are very passionate about trying to make that happen. Are we losing Rashford to Arsenal? Arsenal reportedly interested in Marcus Rashford, but I don't think he'd leave United to go to Arsenal. I know Arsenal could win the league, but I do think that United, if they get those Arabic owners in, they're going to be levels ahead as well. I think that, Arsenal are good, but Manchester United with rich Arab owners, like that would just be unstoppable. Someone said bring in Casado. I mean, Casado definitely. We are Casemiro injury away from McTominay. Definitely need to look at bringing someone like Casado in as well. And the only way we can be back is with Qatar. I don't want Jim. I mean, if it was Jim or the Glazers, I'd take Jim. I'm not against Jim, but I just think, Qatar would be no debt for me, and that would be the better option. At the end of the day, my priority is what I think will make United the best club again, and I think it would be Qatar as well. Qataris will buy it for 5.5 billion, no more. I agree. I think that the Glazers won't get 6 billion. Because I think Qatar are smart, and they'll think that the Glazers are playing games. They'll know that the Glazers will take a massive hit if they say no. They'll know that Jim Ratcliffe can't stretch to that. I don't think the Glazers will get 6 billion. I think that Qatar will be smart negotiators and just say, look, we're paying off the debt, we're doing this, we're doing that. 6 billion, my ass, 5.5 billion. You still get this, you still get that. Get over yourself as well. I do want to talk about Sabitzer actually. Just got a comment here saying Sabitzer looked good so far. We should keep him. I've been impressed with Sabitzer. He's not been particularly wow, but he's not been awful. He's been pretty solid. He's been pretty decent, and he's been playing next to Fred. I do think I'm excited to see Sabitzer get a run of games next to Casemiro. I do think with the way, Sabitzer's played next to Fred, he looks very good. Imagine Sabitzer next to someone like Casemiro. Fred is 10 times better next to Casemiro. Every United player is better when Casemiro plays. And I do think that Sabitzer, he's got 20 million on his thing. I think if he plays well and he impresses, that United could potentially buy him. And I have to say, I still go back to that Leicester game and I go, you know what? We had no Eriksen, we had no Donny van der Beek, we had no Anthony Martial, we had no Anthony, and we had no Varane, and we still got a result. And Sabitzer and Fred were both playing out of position in a pivot together, and yes, they kind of got a run through in that pivot. But on the ball, Sabitzer and Fred look really, really comfortable. And I have to say, I've been impressed with Sabitzer so far. Let me know your thoughts on Sabitzer. I'm just going to take another sip of water quickly. Sabitz has really impressed me. And I won't lie to you, Wout Weghorst has been decent. I think Wout Weghorst gets too much stick because he's not like Rashford. He doesn't score the goals. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. But I've noticed that Wout Weghorst has really held up the ball well recently for United. Very much put in a defensive shift. Very much put in a player's team performance. I say with Wout Weghorst, very much put in an all-round team kind of player's performance. I thought that Wout Weghorst, I know he didn't score a goal, I know he missed a sitter, but I thought Wout Weghorst put in an absolute shift yesterday. I was particularly really impressed with Wout Weghorst, really, really impressed. I thought that all round he did everything right, and I think he deserved a goal. And I have to say, Manchester United were good yesterday when Manchester United scored 3 goals and still underperformed XG. 7 big chances. On another day, United win that game 6-0. Sancho could have put a chance away, Delot should have put a chance away, and Weghorst should have put a chance away. We could have won that game 6-0 on another day. The fact that United were that good, and I think that's a bit solid. I think Wout's been decent, is mad. But I have to say, Luke Shaw is a beast. Luke Shaw, I don't think gets the credit he deserves. I thought Luke Shaw was absolutely fantastic. I thought Rashford was fantastic, but Bruno was my man of the match as well. Look at global financing issues and rising interest rates on their staggering debts that they will take to this to payday. Yeah. 100% take it to payday and run. Thank you for the super chat, Mbappe James. Sorry I took that a little, missed that originally. But Saka, better than Rashford, don't start for England. Mate, I'll be honest with you. Saka on the right, Rashford on the left, Kane up top. That's England's best front three. Rashford ain't good on the right. Saka is better on the right. Rashford's a left winger. Rashford, Kane, Saka, everyone knows that's England's best front three. It's not Rashford versus Saka. It's because, I don't know, Gareth Southgate's still bum-licking Foden and fucking Grealish over Rashford. It's Rashford, Saka, Kane. Anyone with eyeballs knows that is the best front three, and then incorporates both Rashford and Saka. I have to say, I would try. And also, I want to say this now. I know that Jadon Sancho's only had 2 good games, and I'm not getting carried away. But low-key, Mason Mount's been shit lately. I would generally think about Sancho at 10 for England. I think Sancho, if he's not going to get on the wings because he's got Saka, Rashford, Grealish, Sterling as competition, and Sterling's not been particularly good, either as Grealish so far this season, stick Sancho in the middle for England as well. Where would Mbappe and Ostenham, if they were in our team? I don't think we'd get both. I don't think we would get Mbappe, unless Mbappe decided he wanted to go to United and kind of got bored of this Real Madrid team. And Barcelona versus United second leg prediction, Gavi and Pedri unavailable. I'm saying 2-1 United in the second leg as well. And Qatar didn't get involved not to go for the full way and get it done. 100%. Going back to the takeover, as I've always said, I think I'm not worried because I just think Qatar want United bad. They wouldn't be in this race if they weren't interested and not if they didn't think they were going to get it. And if any bit of the Glazers stay, I'm flipping tables. I would rather lose top 4 than have them at this point. 100% same here. I'd do anything to get rid of the Glazers as well. Sabitzer seems to be growing into the Premier League squad and adapting to the Premier League that much easier with each match. Yeah, I think Sabitzer's got better every single match. And I think you can't really judge Sabitzer until you play him next to Casemiro. He's been playing next to Fred, so he's had to adapt his game a bit. We're going to see the real Sabitzer when he's next to Casemiro. And he could be a good squad player because he can play multiple positions. 100%, I think Sabitzer would be a good squad player. You still want someone like Frankie de Jong, but I think Sabitzer would be that kind of squad player, can rotate a lot as well. And he isn't amazing, but where will we be? But where will we be with Wout, given Martial's missed most of the season? Yeah, look, Wout Weghorst isn't nothing special. He's nothing crazy. He doesn't get the goals, but he's put in a defensive shift, and we need him. Because I tell you what, if Martial was injured again, oh my God. Martial can't stay fit as well. Delot missed an absolute sitter. We all know that. People saying 3-1 United. Let me know your Thursday night predictions for the United game. I've still got a lot of news. I've still got a lot of news to get into in just a second as well. Surely Phil Jones will leave, but we're going to talk about players selling because there's news coming out about McTominay leaving. I'm just going to make sure there's no news that's just come out now. Man United have obviously had an increase in that. So Miguel Delaney said something which was interesting. But I'm not sure. Apparently Miguel Delaney's been called out for lying and stuff from Qatar as well. But the Qatari account, as said, is on smoke. The Qatars are actually just going in on Miguel Delaney and saying that he's not saying stuff. But Simon Stone did say it's now been established that both Sheikh Hassim and Ineos have received communication from the Rain Group asking them to stop making public statements, including terms such as returning United to its glory years. So Simon Stone has just come out and essentially confirmed the news that the Glazers are getting annoyed at Qatar Qatar are coming out with their vision to bring United back to the top, and the Glazers are getting annoyed. And that puts me off a bit because I think the Glazers don't like that Qatar have done this. One, because the Glazers think it's a dig at them, which it technically is. But two, the Glazers are getting annoyed that Qatar have been coming out saying they want to return United to its former glories and all of that and make United the best. And they're annoyed at those public statements because I think the Glazers are annoyed that the fans have got so excited for Qatar. I think the Glazers I think the Elliott Group's come in and given the Glazers maybe what they want in terms of minority stake and power. And the Glazers know now, because the fans are so excited by Qatar, that they can't. I think had Qatar been quiet, had Sir Jim been quiet and everything was quiet and the Elliott Group came in, the Qatar would have probably taken a minority stake from the Elliott Group and said that no one made an offer. But because someone's made an offer and they've been loud, I think that's what's really upsetting the Glazers, because they now know that even if the Elliott Group is giving them what they want, which reportedly they will do, they still probably have to sell United, because actually, look at the noise. Look at the shit show that would go down if you didn't sell United, how it would impact the stocks and more. Keep smashing the like button and, of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. Alice, next season we should sell Martial, Maguire, Henderson, Jones, Telles, Williams, and maybe Van der Beek. Exactly. I think McTominay is reportedly going to be for sale in the summer as well. I wouldn't be shocked if McTominay was gone. And a lot of people saying 2-1 United, 2-1 United, 1-0 United for the Barcelona game. I think a lot of you people are with me that you actually fancy Man United to beat Barcelona as well. Elliott Group of Sport, everything full sale's gone. I don't think full sale's gone yet. I think it would be hurting too much financially for the full sale. But I do think the Glazers complaining about Sheikh Hassim and Jim Ratcliffe going public wanting the full sale could be particularly because of maybe the Elliott Group. And they know now that they can't give it to the Elliott Group because I think there'll be too much backlash as well. But anyway, continuing on, someone else's 3-1 United win. Jones, Maguire, McTominay. McTominay's reportedly up for sale, 25 million. Shall we get into the McTominay news? I just want to make sure no news has come out by Simon Stone as we speak. It's now been established that both Sheikh Hassim and Ineos have received communication from the Rain Group to stop being so public, because apparently it's viewed as criticism from the Glazers, because the Glazers can't take a joke in the slightest as well. But I want to get into some more news. Season tickets obviously rising. I want to see if I can let me get my Google Drive up if it works, because I need to get this story up for you guys, because I think you'll find it interesting on McTominay being for sale. Manchester United are working desperately hard to get Rashford to sign a new contract, and reportedly that Dusan Vlahovic was very close to happening in January. Now, I want to quickly, if I can find what I'm looking for, get it up on the screen. Here it is. Here it is. I'm going to get something up on the screen for you. Okay. It was said Manchester United have set a 25 million asking price for Scott McTominay, and Eric Ten Hag is open to selling the midfielder in the summer. This has come out from Footy Insider. Is Footy Insider a good source of information? No. It's not the best source of information. However, given what we know, given there was offers for McTominay in January, and given that Ten Hag wants a new midfielder and he doesn't play McTominay that much, I would say that United would take 25 million from McTominay. From other journalists, I'm hearing that United would take money from McTominay, United would take money from Maguire, United would take money for Telles, Phil Jones, David De Gea. I mean, United would take money for a lot of players at the club as well. There is an article coming out about could the Glazers stay, which I will get into in just a second as well. But actually, what's really annoying me? It is really annoying me, all these journalists coming out saying basically the Rain Groups have to tell Qatar to be quiet because the Glazers basically are getting offended. It actually annoys me how the Glazers are just getting offended so easily. It's just like they just made a speech saying their vision is to return United to its former glories and make us massive. And then there's all of a sudden them getting all offended. Oh, United can't say that. It's slamming the Glazers. The Glazers think that Qatar's vision is slamming them. Do the Glazers think they're immune to criticism? Because they've been absolute shit for all these years as well. Scott and Harry are surely gone. They don't suit Ten Hag's system. I agree. Especially Maguire. I think he'll definitely go. Sell, says Carl, 100% as well. Jonathan says, I hate these ugly monsters. Qatar is the only way forward. It will be a dream to have Qatari people as owners, says Jonathan as well. And apparently a source close to Qatar ownership has confirmed the deal is done, just not announced. Well, the deal's not done because they have to go into the second round of bidding, but the belief is in Qatar that they will be the next owners, even though the deal's not officially done because they still need to do a few more rounds, bits and pieces. Basically, I think lots of reliable sources in Qatar are saying, look, this deal's nearly done. This deal's pretty close to happening. This is obviously happening at the moment. This is obviously happening at the moment. This could happen. And basically, the kind of situation going on is it's very likely it's almost done, but it's not like officially done. But Qatar sources basically saying it will happen as well. The bids and investment bids have been lower than what the Glazers expected. Yeah, and hopefully this Elliott Group definitely gives the Glazers less than they expect as well. I always wonder if the Elliott Group story was them testing the water a little bit. Just having a quick swig of water here there. I can see McTominay at Spurs. Reportedly, McTominay will go, but the bid is 5.5 billion. Sir Jim never had a chance once the reported debt around the deal came out. Yeah, I don't think it will be Sir Jim the way he would have to buy us in debt. I think it's Qatar, or I think the Glazers will do us dirty and take a minority stake. I think it will be Qatar, unless the journalists are lying to us, because we do know that journalists are clickbait fans. We do know that journalists clickbait and lie to the media. Unless the journalists are lying to us, I do have strong belief it will be Qatar, just from kind of what we know from the general media, what we know from the reliable sources, what we can kind of guess. You can't beat Qatar. It's going to cost them a bit. Miguel Delaney says, what a sports team is not responsible for actions of the state. And then Miguel Delaney said, if United are brought by Qatar, the club would be made complicit with human rights abuses. And Miguel Delaney put out some really weird tweets. So basically saying that he's obviously a writer for United, basically saying that Qatar shouldn't buy United. However, when, other Middle Eastern owners were going to buy other clubs, he said it's fine. And people in Qatar are actually calling out Miguel Delaney, which I think is quite interesting as well. And the interesting story, though, is FSG not selling Liverpool. But he's done a few interesting pieces, Miguel Delaney. He's now trending on Twitter because he's obviously a journalist, if you don't know who Miguel Delaney is, and he's saying very conflicting things. But you're not interested in that. So we will carry on into the next story as well. Keep smashing the likes, put some chats in, put some questions in the chat. If Qatar deliver, they will promise, then in 5 years from now, we'll all be smiling from ear to ear. Hopefully. At the end of the day, I don't care who the new owners are, as long as their priority is making United great again, investing and running the club intelligently. That's what my thought process is. It's at the end of the day, it's getting the Glazers out and getting someone in that actually cares, that actually has the money to invest and take United back to the top, wants Manchester United to be brilliant, wants Manchester United back in its glory days. And people are very critical on Qatar already owning PSG, whereas Jim already owns Nice. And the thing is, Jim Ratcliffe hasn't even been that good of an owner of Nice. But, I do think there's a lot of dodginess around clubs and ownerships. But I do think it's weird. I don't like the double standards of you have no problem with Man City and its owners. You have no problem with Newcastle and its owners, but you draw the line at United. I think that some of it is just a United agenda, 100%. Anyway, I want to discuss a few more news. I want to discuss a few more stories. I want to discuss the Barcelona game. I want to discuss the win the other day. I wanted to discuss Marcus Rashford. I'm sure if I actually just get Rashford up here for you. Some stories have come out on Marcus Rashford recently that basically say... I can't find it. Basically, this was from Romano saying that Manchester United are planning to insist for Rashford's new contract. It's a top priority for Ten Hag and the board as the current deal expires next year. And talks will continue with Delo, who's considered a key part. Manchester United's number one priority right now is extending Marcus Rashford's contract. Now, my phone is ringing. Sorry about that. There is the fear that Marcus Rashford could go. PSG are interested, Bayern Munich are interested, Real Madrid are interested, Barcelona are interested. Basically, everyone's interested in Marcus Rashford because he's been incredible. And he's got 1 year left on his contract. He could be available for 3 next year if we don't get him to commit. And United need to get him to commit pen to paper. And with the form he's in, people will want him. He could get any move he wanted this summer if it continues this way, which is worrying for United. Now, I think with Ten Hag coming in with this rebuild, with Rashford being the main man at United and just finding his form back, and potentially Qatar owners coming in, so United might not do that. United have been inconsistent, but I think if you're Rashford and you think Qatar owners, so we're going to be a good club again, Ten Hag's got me back to my best, I'm the main man, you probably stay at United. The Premier League's where it's at. You probably stay at United. However, he might fancy it abroad. You have to wait and see. We know he did say Real Madrid and Barcelona one day would be very cool. United don't want to lose Rashford, and there is a little bit of fear at United that they could lose Rashford. There's a little bit of fear at United they could lose Rashford, but I think it's like Garnacho where he will sign, he will put pen to paper. I think he'll know how well he's playing, and I think because of how well he's playing, he'll be able to get himself a very good deal. And also, yeah, obviously Rashford's young. I'd assume Rashford is particularly loyal to United because he's been here a while, and I don't think Rashford will leave, but there's always potential as well. Well, 242 likes. Can we hit 300 likes by the end of the live stream? 800 people watching, 300, really 300 likes. So 58 more of the 800 of you watching haven't hit the like button, so please do as well. And Garnacho's ready to sign. I've heard United haven't opened talks with Rashford yet. I'm not sure what's going on, but Garnacho's basically done, and I think United are in the process of Rashford and Delos's contract as well. And Glazers going to take the Elliott bid, and we're going to get Rabiot in the summer and no January signings again. I will cry. I will cry if that happens, man. Hopefully the Glazers don't. But I do think Rashford will likely stay at United. He is pretty loyal as well. And the Glazers should be relegated and never come back. The Glazers should sell United and buy Liverpool. That was the goal. But they're not going to. Because Liverpool aren't for sale as well. Why would we leave if ambitious big owners come in? Exactly. I don't think Rashford will leave. I think, I know we'll get a lot of offers. But as I said, Manchester born and bred, big new owners coming in, looking great under Ten Hag. It would just make no sense for him to leave. He might want Barcelona, he might want Real Madrid, but he's a Man United boy and new owners are coming in. I just think it would make absolutely no sense for Rashford to leave. Same with a lot of players. And you know what? It's good because I feel like the players that actually will be leaving will be your Maguire's, McTominay's, your Dean Henderson's, your Tellers. There's players that won't be here, aren't in the long-term philosophy, aren't good enough, but players we can raise money for. Potentially Martial and Donny will go as Ten Hag's kind of frustrated with their lack of availability as well, which will be interesting. But let's talk about United. Let's talk about form. Let's talk about, obviously, the matches coming up. Let's have a look at the matches coming up. And then, obviously, let's talk about the Barcelona game. So, as we can see, United in top form here. If we go and zoom in, Manchester United, third place, 5 points off the top, been playing very, very well as of late. Also, 7 points clear of Tottenham Hotspur with better goal difference. However, we are on 8 points clear of Newcastle that do have better goal difference than us, though. But if you look at Manchester United's matches, we've got the second leg versus Barcelona, which we are favourites to win, considering how well we've done at the Nou Camp, and with Barcelona having key players missing. And we will have some bits of this game and Martinez this game, so we'll be stronger. Barcelona will be weaker. We'll have the home advantage. Barcelona very poor away from home in Europe. The Brentford game's been postponed because that weekend is the EFL Cup final. We have to win, guys. Like, generally, if we don't win, if I don't see a trophy, I am going to be gutted. Absolutely gutted. Because this is our best chance to win a trophy in 6 years. The trophy drought needs to end. We need to win this. But Newcastle will be feeling the same. And right after that is West Ham in the Cup. I think there will be a bit of rest and rotation for West Ham in the Cup. Because Sunday, the 5th of March, our next Premier League game, guys, is against Liverpool. Liverpool picking up the form. Liverpool looking better again. We've got to go to Anfield and beat Liverpool. We never go to Anfield and beat Liverpool. We don't have a good record at Anfield, but we need to go to Anfield and beat Liverpool, because if we go to Anfield and beat Liverpool, that sends a message, that sends a statement. Then on the 11th of March, it's likely to be the Southampton game, and then obviously the Brighton game. But this is where we'd have some Champions League, Europa League games in between as well, depending on cup competitions. But massive final coming up. I am, honestly, this week I cannot wait for. Newcastle will be the hardest match. I think so. Newcastle will be difficult. Daniel says 2-1 United. Let me know your predictions for the Newcastle game. People saying 3-1 Barcelona. I'm just going to say we're going to beat Newcastle. We're going to beat Barcelona. We're going to have a great week and we're going to get new owners. But that does sound too good to be true, and I doubt that would happen as well. Qatar going all out to revamp United. Yeah, despite the rumours of the Elliott group coming in and wanting to give a partial stake to the Glazers, there is the belief that Qatar have so many plans, they won't be stopped. They want to revamp United and do all of that as well. Newcastle taking a dip of late and playing such good opposition like Barcelona is good preparation. Exactly. Newcastle aren't at their best. No Nick Pope, and then we've got a good team like Barcelona to warm up. And Barcelona won't be at their best because they'll have Pedri and Gavi missing, who are two big players for Barca. And you'll notice that they're missing tomorrow. Rashford winning the cup. Sorry, I'm yawning. From the way Rashford plays, he deserves the cup. Martin says, I'm loving the way Eric Ten Hag has Weghorst working like a horse up front. He's a nuisance to other teams' defence by the way he keeps passing and pressing. I agree, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Weghorst. I see people a lot critical of him as well. And if the Glazers stay, I wouldn't blame Ten Hag if he leaves and goes to Chelsea. I mean, yes and no. I wouldn't want to go to Chelsea though. Chelsea, although their owners care, although Todd Boehly spends a lot, I think Todd Boehly's got no game plan. I think his spending's toxic. And I also think with Chelsea, they're saying sack Potter. And I get that. But you spent 200, 300 million on Tuchel to sack him 2 months later. You spent 200, 300 million on Potter to sack him 2-3 months later. And the next manager, you're going to have to spend another 200 to 3 million in. And that manager will have players on 8-year deals that were played under Potter for 2 months. And then that new manager might not want them and will have to sell them. I think that, they need to try and stick it out with Potter. I know he's had money, but I think they really do, because they're just going to be having players that are bought by so many different managers as well, and I think that would be silly for them as well. Liverpool are bang average this season. Should score more at the Kop. Hopefully, but they just picked up in form, Liverpool, recently, which is annoying. If they do win their game in hand, I think they're very much in that top 4 race, or 1 or 2 points back. But Casemiro will be back, which will be massive as well. And Alice, who's your signing of the season? It's got to be Casemiro, but Lissandro Martinez is also up there as well. And obviously, the belief is that Saudis will take over. We'll go back and look at the news, make sure there's no breaking news before I end the live stream as well. Make sure nothing breaks. I'm so tired. Yeah, no breaking news at the moment. But as I say, it's looking good. We need to be careful. We need to make sure we don't get played. We need to make sure it won't be a minority state or anything like that. We do need to be careful in that sense. But as said, we'll fucking mute that. As Qatar, basically saying their bids won't be touched. It will be Qatar. And although they've had a bust up with the Glazers, although the Glazers aren't happy at Qatar and other people saying this and this and this about United and saying we want to bring United back to its former glories, I think the sale is inevitable. Look, people, I'm going to have to end that live stream about 5-10 minutes earlier than normal, because it's Monday, and Monday is Alice's tired day. So make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe down below. Sorry I've ended the live stream a bit early, but we did go through quite a few live chats. Will Anthony and Marshall be back for the Barca game? Not sure. I think it's a doubt. I think Anthony may be. So smash your like, smash your subscribe. I want to thank everyone that watched today's live stream. I will be back tomorrow, and I will see you then, and bye.